sort out my mouse. I have to mute this other video here. All right. Howdy guys. I thought I'd do a bit of an early morning live stream here. Well, it's not too early. It's 10 AM, so not too crazy, but this mouse isn't working. Sorry guys, one sec. I need to pause this video. There we go, got it. All right, so we've got, I'm not sure how to pronounce that first name. Skywatts, is that how you pronounce it? We've got Quinton, Jamal, David, Nigel. Have I seen the new Boss Katana Artist? I've seen what it is, but I haven't actually played one yet. I know Sky Music's gonna get one, so I'll do a demo as soon as I get my hands on one. We've got Xavier. I think that's how you pronounce that. Hey Darren, how are you, man? Quinton, audio video's good. Thanks, man. I'm trying a different microphone this time. Last time I was using the wireless one and it kind of was clicking every now and then, so back on a Rode NT, what is it, a 2A. All right, cool. Greetings from Texas, from Buzz Wilson. That's a cool name. Greetings from Savage, Cerebus, is that how you pronounce that? In Delaware? That's cool, cool. I haven't heard of that town before. I'm just gonna pop my chat out here so I can see it a little bit easier. All right, there we go. We are good to go. So this new setup in here makes life a lot easier for doing this. So this is cool. All right, vocals are a little low. All right, let me fix that. How about that? Is that better? Is that too loud now? It might be a bit too echoey now. Just let us know. Actually, I'll turn it down just a hair. Somewhere in this vicinity will sound good, hopefully. Good morning. It's 5 PM in Oklahoma. Cool. Kentucky and snowing. How's the weather in Melbourne? You know what? It's actually pretty nice outside. It's not hot or anything, I'm pretty sure. Although I haven't been outside yet. I just looked out the window and it's blue skies. Is it normal for new strings unlocking tuners to go out of tune? Yeah, they will a bit. The strings still need to stretch. So what I normally do is just, once I tune up the guitar, or string it up, I kind of just stretch it out, you know, put pressure on the string, and you'll find you'll have to probably do that 2 or 3 times before they stop going out of tune. So Darren says Fender pedals. Shane, hopefully you can demo them. Yeah, you know what? I think Sky's actually got all of those larger ones. They made like a wah pedal and a fuzzing wah pedal and a whole lot of other cool little things. So I can get my hands on probably most of those. I'm going to be doing the new Fender Blues, not Blues Deluxe, what are they called? The Fender Hot Rod Series ones as well. So I'll have access to those coming up pretty soon, which is really cool. What else? New Guitar Search Saturday coming up on this weekend. Took me about 20 hours. So the new Guitar Search Saturdays are going to be awesome. I've got my good cameras. They're stabilized, unlike that last one that I shot in Boston with Steve. So yeah, these should look a whole lot better and sound a lot better. I've just shot all new green screen stuff. There's some new music in there as well and all that kind of stuff. So the first one of those will be up this Saturday, which will be good. Midnight in Serbia. Wow. Greetings from Arnold, Missouri. All right, there we go. That's better. Sounds good. Sweet. Are you in 4K? No, you can't stream in 4K. Well, at least not in Australia. You need a really, really good internet connection and computer to be able to stream in 4K. And a capture card to stream in 4K. And there's just not many of those around. So I'm using a Logitech webcam because this is like the easiest way to get a decent enough picture without having, while still being able to play my guitar easily as well. I do have some of the lights off. I could probably turn the big studio lamp on over here and get, you know, less shadows and stuff, but you know, it's all right. So where's the PRS? It's in the cupboard. I just put new strings on it finally the other day, so. Well, PV Classic 30. Actually, I've got one in my house at the moment. It's not in this room, it's in the other room. I got one of the black ones. So it's a made in USA Classic 30, and it will be basically up in about 2 or 3 days, sometime around there. Also, if you're watching on like a phone, sometimes your phone will stream at lower resolution than the actual videos being like sent out to the world. So just double check and see, make sure you're not watching it in like 240 or something. I just noticed there's a circular saw going off in the background. So if you can hear that, I apologize. Alright, just bought a Fender Baja. It had a plect and it rivals my Sir. Had it plect. Cool, yeah, I mean the Baja tellies are great, man. Leave it as it. What's my favorite guitar type? I kind of go in like phases with that question. I used to be that this was my favorite guitar. Like a tally was just simple and easy to use, but I've been playing my PRS a lot. And then I like picked this back up before the 335 and I was like, man, these are nice, I should play that more. So for me, it just goes in waves. But generally a Strat isn't my favorite. Not because they're bad guitars, I just prefer other guitars over them on the most part. Surfer B, hello from Boston. Welcome, man. Okay, that tally sounds great. So I've got my pedal board out today. I'm using my Buffalo Effects Carrera Overdrive, the Royal Flush, and the Vibler. Not all at once, but I've got the Tillet delay on as well. So I'm gonna get some new pedals sent to me from Versus Audio as well. They're sending out 2 brand new ones that I don't think anyone else has demoed yet, which is pretty cool. Have I ever thought about doing a vlog series? I have. I've tried it. They're really hard to do daily. I've tried doing daily content on this channel for like 2 months, 2.5 months, and it was tough, especially on my own. I'm going to look into some easier ways of getting some of my videos produced. And I'll probably do that this afternoon. I want to have a look around and see if there's ways I could speed up my process even more. Yeah, the vlogs, I don't know if they'd go over well on this channel. I've got another channel I started doing that on, but it was just a time constraints thing. I started it at the wrong time of year. So, yeah, I might get back into doing that at some point. I think this year what I'd like to do is also try, you know, a few different things on YouTube, on a couple of different channels and see how I go. Any more lick lockdowns in the works? Yeah, you know what? I actually filmed 2 at the same time that the last one went up. So there were 2 other ones, but one of the cameras was out of focus. I was spewing. And that was the day actually that I went and bought something to help me focus my videos better. So I won't waste time like that again. Yeah, there's more coming up. I like to get on top of all the stuff that comes in before I do like lesson videos. Lesson videos aren't sort of like my strength, nor do I really enjoy shooting them that much because they're hard to explain. Sometimes when you just do something so often, then you're trying to work out what fret you're on and all that kind of stuff. I'm not really great at explaining that. So I do have more on the way. I think I'll probably do something like 1 or 2 a month or something like that. Have I tried the Digitech Trio Plus? I did. I tried it when I was in Guitar Center in Florida, in Sarasota. Look, it was alright. It was alright. It felt a little mechanical. Like, there's no feel in what it plays back. It just sort of jams with you, which is cool, but I don't think it'll ever replace, like, pulling up a good backing track on YouTube and just playing. But the cool thing about it is you can essentially write, you know, something and see how it sounds in a band context. But it sounds very, very, you know, it sounds digital in its sense that it doesn't feel like something that's been recorded. It feels a little too polished and there's no dynamic in the playing or anything. So you can kind of mix up the feels of it. It's a good little pedal just for jamming around, but once you play it, you probably know what I mean. It just doesn't feel exactly... It doesn't feel like a real band. It just sort of feels like, you know, a MIDI file that's been compiled or something. All right, what are my thoughts on the JHS Panther Cub? I haven't tried it. I don't know anything about the JHS were a pedal company that I got into a little while back. I demoed some of their stuff, but I just sort of like didn't follow them for whatever reason. I haven't really gotten into a lot of the JHS stuff. Greetings from Barcelona. I only have 2 cables to connect my pedal board. Overdrive, distortion, fuzz, chorus, delay. Better to connect everything in front of my amp. What about the effects loop? It's up to you. If you can be bothered hooking everything in through your effects loop, like your delays and, what'd you say, chorus, then you can go and do it that way. I don't. Everything for me goes straight into the front end. It's just easier. Less cables, less messing around. I like the sound of how stuff sounds stacked like that as well. Some people like the effects loop option. It's just personal choice. If you like the sound of how it sounds going into the front end, then just leave it like that. There's no real wrong way of doing that sort of stuff. So, yeah, just basically do whatever sounds the best for you. So, like I've got my Vibler, which is this, that sound straight after my overdrives, and then I've got my delay straight after the Vibler. So that's that sort of so yeah, I reckon that sounds alright. Straight into the front end. So Winston has a good question. He goes, hey, I noticed you always play through Fenders, yet you own a lot of PVs. What's the story? The reason is you can't, well, in terms of live streams especially, actually there's a few reasons. One, I like to keep my demos as consistent as I can so people can kind of go back and watch one and then compare that sound to another pedal. That helps, and it helps me sort of put together those videos where I've got the same amp, you know, with put like a compilation video together so people can sort of, you know, top 5 this or that or whatever. The other reason is I go through a load box. So I'm going through a 2 Notes Torpedo Live with the Fender Blues Deluxe, and I can't do that with the PVs. So you see I'm wearing headphones, right? I'm listening to my guitar coming through the sound card, through my amp though, first. But I can't do that with the PV. It would just blow the voice microphone out. So that's the reason I use that. I'm actually going to look at a different amp this year as well. Probably something a little bit different. Maybe a head, like a Marshall head or a Vox or something different that I can use for videos this year as well. I want to try and find something that's not a 6L6 amp or even a 6V6 amp probably. So I'm thinking Vox, Marshall, the EL34s. So it'll be something like just something different to this. That's the plan. Still with a good clean channel. I just need to work out what I want to get. And I'm not going to really rush into that either. I like the sound I get on my videos. I think the sound quality is, you know, as good or better than a lot of sort of other channels that I watch. And I don't really want to mess with that unless I know I'm getting something that's going to add value to the videos. So that's the main reason. And I really don't think you can beat a Fender clean channel. Like, pick an amp, it won't sound as good. These compensated saddles? No, they're just the old, there you go. No, so I actually had to set this up again the other day. The high E was right out. I think it's almost right now. So I haven't played this for a while, only because the action was shocking. I needed to fix it. I noticed this guitar though has nowhere near the same amount of sustain as the PRS. It's still good, but I'd like to do demos using some of the other PV amps and stuff at some particular point in time, but you know, it's just, I think people get used to the certain sound on a channel too, and I think using different amps on every video isn't really very helpful. That's kind of how I kind of feel about it anyway. What do I think about the PV Viper 75? You know what? I've never used one. I'd like to try one of those things out. They're kind of like a Fender Mustang slash, you know, Marshall Code kind of amp, for those who don't know. So they're a digital PV amp. I've never tried one. I used to see some of them pop up here and there, but a lot of dealers aren't doing PV stuff at all here anymore. I shot 3 episodes of Guitar Search Saturday recently, and only one shop had PVs. Well, actually, there was a second-hand one in one store. That doesn't really count. But in terms of new stuff, I just don't see PV stuff around. Any experience with Blackstar stuff? I'm looking for a versatile tube amp. Look, the thing with Blackstar, right, and this is just my opinion, so listen to it and make your own mind up. I've heard them in the context of a live mix, and they sound very scooped. So all you're hearing is the low end and the high end, which isn't what you want to hear when you play live. If you're playing at home, it doesn't really matter, but they're very, I find their drive channels overly compressed as well. So it just sounds like there's not a lot of headroom between the notes. It's just very flat dynamically. It's hard to explain. Yeah, I don't know. I'm yet to hear one that I really go, wow, this is phenomenal. Look, they're probably out there. The ones I've heard, I think, are the 40-watt one. Is it the Club 40 or something? Look, it was okay. It took pedals okay, but it wasn't anywhere near the headroom of a 40-watt Fender. And that's just my opinion. If you use pedals, there's no reason to buy Blackstar. If you don't, Blackstars are good because they have 3 or more channels, some of them as well. So that's just one of those things. It's up to you what you like the sound of, but I've not heard one in a live mix that I thought sounded great yet. It could have been the player and the way that he dialed it in too. I haven't used one personally live. I've just heard one. Get yourself a Hughes and Kettner Statesman. Nah, I'll never buy Hughes and Kettner, man. I don't like Hughes and Kettner at all. I reckon they're the spikiest, toppiest amps I've ever heard. I've tried Hughes and Kettner stuff before, mate. I really don't like them. Maybe a head might be okay. Maybe a lot of that sort of brightness and harshness has something to do with the speakers that they load in. But I tried a Statesman 212, I think it was, with like brown Tolex and all that, and I didn't really dig that at all. I got to say, it was that top end that hurts your teeth. You can't get rid of. What happened to my classic vibe tally? Was it the no double up policy, or was it not up? No, it was a great guitar. A reason I sold it, 2 reasons. I had the frets fixed on this, and I think I was paying off like my Gibson Gold Top at that particular time. So, yeah, I think that was probably more along the lines of what it was. What's your views on Katana Air? Good idea, or are we moving away from traditional amps? I don't think you'll ever get away from traditional amps in terms of playing live. I think the Katana Air, I'm going to do a demo of that pretty soon. As soon as I can get my hands on one, I'll do a proper review of its pros and cons and all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned for that. I don't know enough about it right now to really comment on like if it's going to be the bee's knees or whatever you want to call it. So bolt-on or set neck on the PRS? I think it's a set neck. I'm pretty sure it is. I have a PV Bandit. Is it worth buying a Blues Junior? I don't see why. I mean, if you're playing at home, they're both loud amps, but if you're playing live, I take a PV Bandit any day. Or like that's kind of why I bought the Studio Pro. You know, like I had a couple of Blues Juniors. I reckon their limitation is their cabinet size. They just don't sound very big. They can sound good, but they don't sound very big. They'll never sound like a PV Bandit live, and that's one thing I hear all the time. Like, I take my PV Bandit out to a jam, And there's guys there with Blues Juniors, and A, you can never hear them properly, and the amp squishes and gets really compressed, whereas the PV Bandit, you know, peels the paint off the wall. So unless you're looking for something physically smaller and lighter, you know, that would be the only reason to go buy one. If you want a Fender sort of sound, even though that's not really a traditional Fender amp, the Blues Junior. A lot of people think it is, but it really isn't. To me, like, a Fender amp would either have 6L6 power tubes or 6L6s, 6V6. I don't know if I said that twice. I just woke up not long ago. So yeah, you gotta sort of weigh up whether or not you want that sort of Vox configuration almost in the Blues Junior. I mean, they're good sounding amps, no doubt about it, but not really, like, I don't think it would ever replace my PV. There's just, no, not a chance. What's the difference between my ES335 and the ES78L? Is the ES78L a made in China one? So mine's a 145L. I don't know whether or not that's 145. Yeah, 145L. So I would need to check. I don't know, like, every model of Tokai stuff back to front. So just go check it out. So this one's based on a 50s ES335. It has the sort of chirpy PAF pickups, sort of fat neck as well. Maybe the one you're talking about might be based on something like a 60s. I'm not too sure. There'll be information on, I think if you just type in Tokai Guitars Australia, Australia's website comes up and it will show you, you know, all the models there. Someone asked about the cage system, which I don't know a lot about. Let me just grab my mouse. I missed it. Sorry, I think you asked it. Let me just scroll back up. Is it going to let me do it? Oh, come on. No. My mouse isn't working over there. Let's do it this way. Looking for ways to learn chords other than the cage system. Any tips? Yeah, just, I mean, it depends what kind of music you listen to. There's plenty of, like, if I want to learn different blues chords, I'll listen to something like T-Bone or Chris Kane or something with a different flavor of the same sort of thing. So a lot of the chords you hear me play, like you know, that sort of stuff I got from more jazz players than blues players. So listen to some different things, and you can move those chords around everywhere as well. Another good thing is, instead of just playing like the chords as they're written, play parts of them, add some extra notes here and there. Yeah, there's plenty of non-standard chords that work great, so just listen to some different music and see what kind of chords some of the guys you listen to are using, you know. Did you hear about the Marshall Origin series or see about it? I haven't. No, I kind of probably avoided most of the videos in the last couple of weeks going on on YouTube. So I need to catch up on a lot of that stuff at some point. Marshall is a range of amps I have access to. I got access to all of them. Coming up pretty soon, hopefully either this or next week, I'm going to be shooting some videos of those kind of amps as well. Does the lip on the bridge bother your hand? No, never thought twice about it. I can kind of feel it, but I never play like all the way back. I rest my hand sort of there, I guess. And if I'm standing up, it probably, my hand might actually avoid it altogether, so no. Michael asks, did I ever play one of the pedals out of my top 10 worst pedal names of all time? I did not. Actually, I found some really maybe some worse pedals in person than the ones that were on that list to some extent. Not all of them, but there might be another one of those videos coming up. I'll see how we go. Black Star sounds great in the bedroom, but falls short on stage. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about listening to them live. I felt like it just didn't have the push of or upfrontness of an amp. The upfront sound of an amp that I'd be wanting to play live. It's like scoop out all the frequencies you need, and then you're left with low end and a lot of treble. But like I said, you know, it depends on how the player dials it in and all that kind of stuff as well. For me personally, I'm yet to hear one that blows my mind. I hear a lot of people talking about them, but what a big mic I have. Yeah, it's huge. I moved it forward actually because I don't think you could hear me properly. Lightfoot P says, I know you have the Bugera V5. It's right down here. Have you tried the Bugera V22? I have. It's actually pretty good. I gotta say, it's one of the few amps where both the cleaner and dirty sounds are both pretty good. The only problem was, I tried one back in 2010, I think it was. I played one in San Fran, and it was heavy. Far out was it heavy. It weighed an absolute ton. So they might have fixed that over the years, but they're actually a pretty good amp. One amp I want to sort of keep a lookout for, and I'm yet to find one anywhere here in Melbourne that isn't either damaged or whatever, is the V55. I think it's the 50, whatever it is, the Bugera one. I think one of those heads might actually be a pretty good thing for the channel too, because it does things a little bit differently, and it's got a different sort of sound to what I've got as well. And they're, you know, inexpensive compared to a lot of amps. But the 22 actually sounds pretty good. I would have probably no problems getting a decent sound out of that. I think I posted a video of me playing in San Fran with that actual amp. Then this was years ago. I don't even remember what the video was called, but if you go back to around 2010 in my uploads, it should be there somewhere. It would have been around June to July. What do I think about boutique tube amps and homemade unique amps? Do you ever play handcrafted unique amps? Not really. There's not a lot of people that say, here, try my amp. It's something that I built. I don't really know anyone that does that sort of stuff. There's a couple of guys, I guess, that do it here in Melbourne, but they've never said, hey, I'd love you to check this out. Here, go take it home and have a play. They just don't. I find like that's pretty common here in Australia. Like, there's very few like pedal builders or amp builders in Australia that kind of understand like why that's beneficial for them to let me use it and show people what they do. It's almost like they don't want to succeed with stuff. And it's weird. It's kind of like the exact opposite of probably how they're thinking, but looking at it from my perspective, I kind of feel like a lot of the guys that make stuff here don't really understand what social networking is still, and it's a real shame. So the answer's no. I think in terms of the one-offs and all that kind of stuff, I don't think I've ever really demoed one on a channel, and that's only because I don't ever get, you know, emails from local builders. A couple of years back when I used to email a lot of companies, which is something I don't really do now at all. Maybe one a month, 2 a month, something like that. But I'd be like, hey, your amps look cool. Do you want me to do some demos? You know, I'd love to get your stuff on the channel, and they don't even reply. So I just don't think they really get it. So I don't really chase people. Like, I'm sure some people out there might chase a lot of companies and they really want to work with them, but I'm not that sort of guy. I don't really like doing that sort of stuff. If I see something that I really like, I'll shoot them an email and say, hey, this is what I do. I'd love to check out your stuff. But yeah, amp builders in Australia just don't do that. It's just, even guitar builders really don't. I had one, I won't mention the company's name, but they contacted me about 2 years ago. They said, oh, we love your stuff. We'll make you a lefty and we'll get one out to you so you can review it. Cool. About I don't know, 6 months later, hey, you know, we had some stuff come up. I'm on it. I'll do it for you. But just hang in there. Nothing. So I get emails from one particular company every 3 months saying, hey, we want to send you this range of amps. And that's been going on for 3 years. So they're just useless. But in terms of, what was your other question? In terms of hand-wired amps, I think there's great amps of all types. Hand-wired, PCB ones, you know, cheap and nasty solid-state amps that sound great. It's whatever you like the sound of is good. I've owned 2 Rock amps. I've played some Victoria amps as well, which are great. Rick's got one of them. I played one called... all the Achilles stuff. You know, the Achilles amps make a whole lot of nice stuff as well. I don't like all of his amps, but the Fender-ish ones are really good in my opinion. You just got to work out whether or not you can justify sometimes the price difference there as well. Hey, VS Audio, how are you, man? We were just talking about you earlier. We've got a couple of mystery pedals on the way. Is it worth trying to fix up an old 90s era PV Express 112? No. Just find one that works or grab something else. You can pick up an amp for $100. What my friend Ed does in San Francisco, or he was doing for a long time, he'd buy PV Bandits used for about $65. And if the speaker blew up or the amp stopped working, he'd just get another one. Because realistically, to have it serviced, unless you know how to do all that stuff, it's not really worth fixing. I know that seems like a huge waste, but if the amp head died, you'd pull the speakers out and put them aside and throw the amp out. For $65 or $100, you're not going to get a tech to be able to work on it for under a couple of $100, at least here in Australia. So shopping around, I can pick up these amps for, you know, under 150 pretty easily if I keep my eye out. So that's usually the best way to go. Have I checked out the Rivera modded deluxe reverb at Sweetwater? No, I haven't. I've played Rivera amps in the past, but I haven't heard of that one either. I'm a bit out of the loop. Do I use an EQ pedal? No. I use my amp EQ. EQ pedals are good if you really want to try and make an amp you don't like the sound of good. And I did a video on how to use EQ pedals a while back. I used the Bugera V5 Infinium as an example because that's the kind of amp that needs more treble and it needs more clarity in a couple of frequencies, and that's the perfect place to use an EQ pedal. In terms of my regular setup, I have no use for an EQ pedal. Just I don't need it. I like the sound I get. So. What brand strings and what size do you use for blues playing? On the most part, on all of my guitars, except for the PRS at the moment, I'm using 11 to 48s, I think, Diodarios. But I buy whatever's cheaper. I actually just picked up, actually they're right here, I'll show you. So, I just pick up whatever I can, whatever's the cheapest. These used to be my favorites, the Power Slinkies. You'll notice these are 11 to 48s as well. So these will go on pretty much most of my guitars, as well as these. These are probably like my all-time favorites. 11 to 49s, there you go. But lately I've been trying to go back to 10s on a few guitars. The PRS still has 10s, so 10 to 46. Believe it or not, I got up to 12s with a wound G at one point, and that was on my 335. Not this one, but I had one prior to that. And yeah, I don't think I'd ever play an electric guitar with a wound G again. It was a little bit too crazy. So yeah, it doesn't really matter what strings you use. I think, like, I don't know, I wouldn't go any lighter than 10s. Just from a feel perspective. Anytime you drop past 10s, the strings are going to be way too easy to bend and you'll overbend, and I like a little bit of fight on the actual, not fight on the guitar, but I like to feel like I have to, if I'm bending a note or something, I like that feeling of a little bit of tension under there. Alright, we've got Earth Skills. How are you, man? Ryan, have I been to NAMM? We'd love to see videos of you on the floor with the new gear. No, I haven't. I'd like to check out NAMM as an audience participant at some point. Like, just go there, check it out, and see what they got. And maybe do like a big guitar search Saturday. I don't really want to gear my channel towards NAMM videos. It's not something that I think you don't need any more of that on YouTube. There's people doing it and doing it well on YouTube, and there's people doing it poorly. I don't want to be one of the guys that are doing it poorly. I really don't want to just mingle with a lot of companies like that either. It doesn't really interest me that much. Like I said though, I'd like to go check it out. If I'm in Florida when Summer NAMM's on, and I know that's the smaller one, I might go to Nashville and just have a look. I got invited a few times to go. I actually had a free flight and all that this year, and I declined it. It just wasn't something that I thought was going to benefit my channel for whatever reason. Not only that, I just really don't like big events where there's thousands of people walking around. It's not really my kind of thing. But thanks for the suggestion. But one day I'll probably go and shoot like a Guitar Search Saturday there or something. But I'll go there without the intention of having to like interview people. It doesn't really overly excite me, especially when there's a lot of logistics involved in making that sort of thing happen for a short amount of time. So anytime I'll actually go to NAMM, it'll be on the back end of a trip that I've already had. And I don't like leaving where I live in summer, which is summer here. So I'd rather leave when it's cold and crappy here and summer somewhere else. So that's usually, I think, like all but one of my trips away over the years have been, well, actually I had a couple of work trips, but in just actual holiday / vacation time, I always leave when it's winter. It's just, I like the summertime. So, yeah. Hey, Landon, how are you, man? Sorry, I didn't give you a shout out before. Zach, how are you? We've got Jamal as well. I'm not sure if I said hi before. I may have actually. I'm losing my mind. I need more caffeine. This is what happens when I don't have caffeine. I've got a huge bottle off camera here today, so no one will ridicule me. There we go. Do I have any advice on how to play with lighter touch consistently? I'm so heavy-handed. Yeah. So, one thing I see a lot of people do, and this is what I do as well, if I haven't played for a while, or if I'm trying to, like if I'm playing live and it's been a while and I'm maybe not nervous, but I'm a little bit concerned on where my chops are or whatever, I tend to sort of clam up. So, I'll hold the pick like I'm gonna snap it in half for no reason. So the first thing I always say to myself is try to play with loose hands. Doesn't matter if I'm doing a festival or if I'm playing at a pub. I always say if I'm not feeling loose already, I say to myself, like, just loosen your hands, loosen your wrists. Because as soon as you grab the pick hard, all of a sudden you're locking your wrist in almost as well, and it really affects your rhythm playing. So try to play with loose hands and just try to remember, like, you're only pushing the string a millimeter. It almost comes down to being probably more relaxed when you approach the guitar, just in general, and try to be a good way to practice, and this is how I practice a lot, is to play the guitar without any amp. So that's I'll leave it on just in, I'm clean, right? You want to make sure all your actual notes are coming through cleanly. So even if you practice without the amp on, so you don't need to push hard to get the chord to ring. I think maybe if you're a little unsure of where the notes are or what it is you're playing, you might want to push hard and hit hard, but you don't really have to. So just try to play soft. Learn some stuff like Brothers in Arms, or you know, listen to some Knopfler stuff or some really great live blues that's very dynamic, and you'll find a lot of those guys are just playing with a lot of subtlety and touch and finesse, and that's what you might want to work on playing like that more. So if you grab a guitar and you're always sort of doing the, you know, this sort of stuff, so try the opposite, you know. Every note I just played then was played softly. And my hand is about as loose as you could imagine. So there's certain things you can do on a guitar even without pushing hard, like bending's one of them. I've still got not a lot of tension on the string, not a lot of tension on the note. You can dig in and play harder, but just to get that, you know, that subtlety in your playing, you're just going to have to practice that. And what I did for a long time was sort of try to mimic what I heard from Eric Clapton's 24 Nights CD. So there's a Have You Ever Loved a Woman on there. Is great because he's literally, I've showed you this on live streams before, but he does a lot of, you know, he's barely doing anything on some of those riffs. And trust yourself that you don't need to play hard to make it sound good. That's where you got to get to that sort of point. I think with blues, a lot of people, I see it at jam nights all the time, and I'm actually going to give the jam nights a miss for a while because, like, there's like one dynamic set the entire night, and the rest of the time everyone's just got the distortion on, they're chunka on 10 volume wise the whole set. It gets old quick, so dynamics is great. So I can just listen to some guys who do it extremely well. I think I might have missed some comments there, guys. Now let me grab my mouse. I'll scroll back up. Sorry, let's go up a few. David says this is so much better than NAMM coverage. Thanks, man. Yeah, I was gonna try and well, I actually have enough videos to go live daily as well for the next couple of weeks, but I'm not doing daily videos so much at the moment, so I thought I'd just mix it up. And that's the thing too, like the bigger YouTube kind of gets, those events, you're just going to see more and more of the same stuff. And I've never really tried to do that with what I do, for better or worse. It's just like, that's not really who I am. I'm not the schmoozer with going into those things and wanting to talk with companies and showcase what they've got. I really couldn't care less. I know that sort of sounds counter-intuitive or whatever about being that I review a lot of gear and demo a lot of stuff, but I actually pride myself on a lot of the stuff I get sent is different. I like working with obscure companies out of some country that you didn't even know made effects pedals or whatever. I kind of like that. It's just a little bit of a point of difference. It might not be as entertaining as some of the other videos, I'm not saying that, but just having a point of difference is always good. Doing the left-handed guitars and, you know, the Guitar Search Saturday stuff, I prefer to put my time and effort into the stuff I enjoy, that hopefully you guys enjoy. Skill says, I don't enjoy NAMM vids. I was so tired of the GitCon vids too. I like varied content and live streams. Well, yeah, well, there you go. So that's kind of how I felt about that as well. It was another, you know, another free flight, another free trip, and, you know, I appreciate the invite, but it wasn't really high on my list of things I wanted to do. As much as I'd love to hang out with Steve again, and I'd like to meet Lewis in person and a few of the other guys, I can do that anyway. Like, next time I'm in the States, I'll meet up with them again. So it's not really like it's unobtainable any other way, and it kind of shows a little integrity going on your own dime as opposed to, at least that's how I see it, as opposed to some company paying for you to go. Hello from North Carolina. Welcome, Strat Hippie. What's the best speaker in the Blues Junior? Good question. Best is subjective. It depends what you're looking for. You know, like, it depends what you want volume-wise. If I was to buy another Blues Junior, I'm going to move my chat down here. I would probably put a Texas Heat or a Swamp Thing in it, just based on the fact it retains that American classic sort of voicing speaker, and they're extremely loud. The great thing about the Texas Heat is it's a mid-heavy speaker as well, so it's going to sound great in the live mix. The Swamp Thing's just going to get loud. Like, and if you want just more volume with a kind of scooped-ish kind of sound to it, scooped in the mids a little bit, that Fendery kind of vibe, then the Swamp Thing might be the better choice. But I reckon you can't go wrong with the Texas Heat speakers. I'm a huge fan. Any amp I've tried that speaker in, and it absolutely rocks. I've just ordered the new Marshall 20 watt head. Oh, cool. Do I do a lot of finger picking styles? I don't finger pick any way that I was taught. I just, over the years, kind of got... There's a friend of mine who used to play really percussively, right? I don't know if I can still do any of it or not, but he was a huge influence on the way that I tried to play, like, finger style, but not anything like Chet Atkins or anything, you know? He'd be go like... So that, you know, trying to keep the percussive thing there was always part of my rhythm technique for a long time, based on what I kind of stole or borrowed from listening to him. But yeah, I never really learnt how to finger pick from the book, you know, like having one finger there, and it just never felt quite comfortable. And I know even guys like Knopfler don't follow the rules when they pick. They just do it the way that they kind of feel comfortable as well. And I think that's the best way to go. Just, you know, you can learn the technique of someone else, but you'll end up kind of butchering it to suit your own way that you play. And I think that's one of the things that is good, because it will make you play differently to someone else. Even if you try to aspire to play like someone, you'll never really nail it. And you'll end up doing something that just sounds more unique to yourself. Maybe not better, maybe not worse, just different. And that's always good. The worst thing I see, like, especially in blues, man, people just trying to completely imitate a style. I really can't listen to that. There's a guy that was a local dude in Melbourne here. Great guitar player. Just wanted to be Stevie Ray. That's probably 100 of those guys, actually. But there was one that really kind of nailed the feel. And then I thought to myself, I don't get it. Like, why? Like, doing all the songs and all that kind of stuff. And he was good. Like, really, really talented musician. Much better than the average, you know, YouTube sort of dude doing Stevie Ray. Like, this guy could really nail it. But he's just copying stuff that he's heard. And I'd love to hear how he sounds when he plays. So, yeah. What do I think about Powell Ferro fretboard Fender is using? Yeah, I have no problems with that at all. You'll probably find it makes zero difference to anything. Even visually, it probably doesn't look that much different. I know historically that they haven't used it up until they are kind of forced to use it now because of the Rosewood rules and all that kind of stuff, but you're not going to hear any difference. I'd be really surprised if it affects the guitars in any audible way. Look, visually it could vary slightly. I mean, not all pieces of... I've seen rosewood that looks like crap. I've seen some maple that looks horrible and some maple that looks great, and some rosewood fretboards that I would never... I'd be like, oh, what'd they do on this one? You know, like, so I'm sure that you're going to get some duds with the new kind of stuff they're using too, but I don't... It doesn't really bother me that much, to be honest. I can see more companies doing that coming up. Hello from Idaho, great channel. Thanks, Chad. Appreciate that, man. Going to watch the Super Bowl. Is that today? I had no idea. Really? So you might notice behind me. You might not notice. No, you won't, because it's above the camera view. I've changed some of the posters up. There's some, the only one you can kind of see is here. King of the Hill. I don't know if you're familiar with that early 2000s cartoon, but it's great, man. I had to put that up. And there's a couple of others I'll leave for some of the videos I'm shooting in here, so yeah. Girls like the swamp things. Swamp Thing speakers are awesome. I've still got that in the in the Fender Blues Deluxe. When I redid the, what's it called? What's that stuff called? The silver shielding. The shielding in the amp a while back, because I butchered it pulling the amp head out. I tried the Texas Heat in that amp as well, and it sounded awesome. So, yeah. Swamp Thing's just got a really, it works great for high-powered Fender amps, because you get that huge high headroom thing. It doesn't, you don't get any speaker distortion, which is great. A lot of speakers that are rated at lower wattage tend to sort of have less headroom. So you're not only hearing the amp clip, but you'll hear the speaker clip as well. And that's desirable for a lot of people, but I like that big, full round, clean sort of sound. So Swamp Things are great for that. Ah, alright, so Dale says the Super Bowl's on Sunday. Alright, cool. Yeah, I'll watch it. Why not? I learned how that game works back in 1994, before just about anything. It was before the internet was here, because I used to have a Sega Mega Drive, which is the Genesis for the overseas friends, and I got John Madden's 94 on a cartridge, and I had no idea how that game was played until I played that to death, and I was like, I think I get this now. So I was trying to explain it to people, like, how do you know about this? So yeah, growing up playing John Madden 94 on the Sega. Thanks, Chris. Cheers, man. I appreciate that. Ben says, propane is just a job, Bobby. It's a way of life. Isn't just a job. Yeah, that's it. I love King of the Hill. King of the Hill is just too funny. I'll sell propane and propane accessories. I can't really do the voice, but yeah. I got all of them on DVD. That's how much I like that series. Have you ever tried a boost in front of your compressor and main drive pedal after? Have you ever tried a boost in front of a compressor and main drive pedal after? You're gonna have to change the context of the question. I'm not sure what you're exactly asking me, but I don't usually run compressors before boosts. I don't really run a boost and a compressor on my board anymore. I used to run a boost pedal before or after another overdrive, just depending on what I was looking for volume-wise. Pre and post volume boosts are awesome. Just depends on, like I said, your current setup and what you like. Sometimes it's good to have two overdrive pedals, and in the middle of that, have a volume boost pedal. So you can essentially either use it as a push on the one that's on the other side of the boost, or you can use it as a volume boost only on the other side of the other overdrive. So that's pretty cool. But compressors, the way I would use a compressor, if this helps, I would put it before any of my dirt pedals. So I'd have my tuner, compressor, overdrives, delays, and all that going through to the amp that way. I actually really want to build my new board, so I'm going to transition all my stuff that's on this little pedal train over to the Box King one that I got sent. I really like that thing. It's like a rechargeable pedal power supply thing all in one. So whenever I'm missing one pedal that I need to get that done, so I'm going to grab that back off my friend Rick, and if he's finished with it, and put that board together, and I'll show you kind of the process involved in that. I'm going to buy this stuff that Rick likes to call Rich Boy Velcro. It's called Dual Lock. I think it's called Dual Lock Heavy Duty Velcro or something like that. And it's essentially like this stuff, once you put something on it, you've really got to get it off. There's no way stuff can just fall off. So I'm going to look at getting, I think, 2 meters of that stuff. So 1 meter each side. And I'll redo the pedal board, and it'll be there until the end of time. At least that's the plan. So, do I ever play a nylon string guitar? Absolutely. I've got one. I need to put new strings on it. I think the strings are about 8 years old. They've been on there forever. I love the sound of nylon string guitars. I'm a huge fan. I've got a something like a 60-year-old Suzuki, and it's beautiful. I just don't play it enough, unfortunately, but I reckon they sound great. Madden 94 is a classic, yeah, absolutely. What's the time here? All right, we've got about 5 minutes left. I'm going to cut this down to an hour today. I've got a few things I need to do. But I thought I'd jump on and take some questions. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask now, and I'll answer them. I think someone's at my door. Hang on. Sorry, guys. Oh, that's why they call it the live stream. I had a parcel just delivered, and I have no idea what it is. Should I open it up? We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll say that. Hi Shane, I have an Epiphone Sheraton. Thinking about changing the pickups. Any suggestions? Get some PAF pickups put in there, and also tell me like why you want to change them. If it's based on the fact that you don't think they're clear enough, don't buy hot sounding pickups. I see so many people going, oh, these pickups aren't loud enough. I want more modern sounding pickups. More modern sounding pickups don't have any tops. So buy something like an old school PAF style pickup. All right. Do I ever use monitors or just amps with your pedals? Do I ever use monitors or just amps with your pedals? You mean like, I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Jason. Just let me know exactly what reference you mean there. If you're talking about do I ever just plug directly into a PA system, is that what you're asking me? I'm not really too sure. What do I think of the Justin guitar channel playing and Mike Bradley guitar playing? Justin guitar. I think I've seen a number of his videos. I'd have to. I'm terrible when it comes to names. Anyone who knows me knows that in person. It takes me months to remember who's who sometimes. So I'm not going to be able to search because I've got my keyboard's not kind of right near me at the moment. Justin guitar. It does sound really familiar. What was the Justin guitar? What was the other one? I think a question might have gone up. Hang on. Let me go up. Where was it? Mike Bradley. You know what? I'm going to have... I can't really comment. I'm going to have to double check their channels. Only because I know I've seen both of them, but I know I'm probably getting them mixed up as well. I'm a huge fan of your neon lights. They bring so much style. Thanks, man. So I got a pineapple recently for like $9 from Kmart here. That one cost me a fair bit, the guitar. I bought that right before Christmas because I'm an idiot. And I bought this one over here from Kmart as well. It's like a palm tree. It's kind of overexposing the webcam, but yeah, they look alright. I just wanted something in the background that kind of jazzed up changed the light color a little bit in here as opposed to just, you know, having the white wall and all that kind of stuff. The white lights. All right, let's do this. Let's do this unboxing. I have no idea what this parcel is, and I have to. We've got this Australia Post here is like our USPS or whatever, so they deliver all our mail, and I get quite a number of parcels turning up every, well, not every week, but every second week I get 2 or 3, whatever. And he wasn't delivering, he wasn't knocking on my door. He was literally just like leaving a card because he couldn't be bothered, and he'd drop everything off at the post office. So I called them up, and since then he's knocked on my door every time. So, and I work literally right behind my front door. Like my front door is there or there. My main computer is right there. Oh, here we go. Ah, okay. It said Sweden on the front. This is not Swedish stuff. That's weird. Alright. So I had this company contact me a while back, and they asked me, hey, we'd love you to review all of this stuff, and I said I'm not going to review all of it. I said 1 or 2 pedals is enough. And this one actually looked pretty cool, so I thought I'd check it out. So, Tone King, eat your heart out, mate. We're doing live unboxing. I'm stealing your thunder. I need a different mic. I don't know. This is pretty good. This is a pretty good one. It's probably just where it's set up. Usually I'm using a wireless one doing this as well. Battery was about 30%, so I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna risk it. All right, this is the only one I'll show you. I won't show you the other one. I'm gonna get round to this at some point, demoing this. Here we go. So it's a 3-in-1. We've got drive, distortion, and delay. I thought this looked kind of cool. I don't know if Tone King had already done a demo on this. I know he covered some of this a moon stuff, but this was one of the ones that I thought, you know what, this actually looks pretty cool. And it's got an effects loop on the back. Not really sure why, but it does. So I thought that looks actually pretty cool. And it looks like you can store stuff on it, maybe. I'm not too sure, but there's a LED screen here. Anyway, unboxing for another time. Hey, thanks for that. I appreciate that. We just, is that Dave? Is that how you say that? Dave Douglas. It is. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for using the super chat. Awesome. Buy a beer? You'll be saddened to know I don't drink beer, but I'll have a cider. Being the metrosexual that well, I'm not really, but yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Who's my favorite player? This is from Scoots, 44 Scoots. This guy. At the moment, Chris Kane is an absolute madman. Here. Look him up on YouTube. Type in Chris Kane opening song and see if you've heard a better guitar player playing that sort of stuff than him. He's an absolute monster. Great singer too. So he's the rare combination of a guy I could listen to sing without even touching the guitar. And then you hear him play guitar and you're like, oh, he's great at both. And then you hear him play keyboards and you go, oh, so he's a monster at that as well. And then you realize he plays sax on most of his albums and you go, oh, I suck. So he's a freak. He's a great musician. He's from San Francisco or the Bay Area. I love Tommy Castro as well, surprisingly, and he's from the same area, like Chris and Tommy jam. Actually, that's another really great. There's a video on YouTube of Chris playing in the Tommy Castro band, doing like an 8 or 9 minute blues solo, and Tommy's like, I don't even want a solo. Like Chris goes, all right, your turn. And he goes, no. It's pretty funny. And there's a great clip of him playing with just so many great players. So anyway. All right. Or an overpriced water. Yeah, no, I don't pay for water. I try not to. I'm a big believer in. The only time I pay for water is if I buy soda water, which is, technically it has something to do with not being just water. In Australia, we're kind of lucky. We don't, as you probably know if you're from Australia, I didn't ask, but yeah, we most of our water supply here is pretty good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is officially 11:05 here, so we're going to wrap this up. But yeah, if anyone else has any quick questions, feel free to let me know. If I didn't answer your question and you asked a couple times, I apologize. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of what's going on. But yeah, definitely, if you're into great blues and you're bored with whoever you listen to, check him out. I know I rave about him a lot, but he's one of the reasons I continued to play guitar. You listen to the same guys and you might have gone through your Robert Crays and all that kind of stuff, your Claptons and all that, and then you kind of get bored, and that's kind of how I was with it. And then I heard him and I just went, this guy's on a whole different level. And not that he's better or whatever, but just so different musically and very inspiring in terms of just someone who plays what the music I love, but does it, his approach is completely different. Do I use a buffer? I think inherently I do without knowing it. I'm pretty sure one of my overdrives has a buffer built in. I don't think you necessarily need one unless you've got a lot of pedals on your board or you're running a lot of cables. Do I play any other instruments? I can play bass. I've done a bass demo recently. I can also kind of keep time on a drum kit. To some extent, I'm not great on it, but I can kind of keep a relatively cool groove going on one of those. I actually demoed an electronic drum kit years ago, back when I first was sort of getting the feel for it. But at the jam nights over the years, I've learned how to sort of play up. I can play bass upside down on a right-handed bass guitar pretty easy. Kirk Fletcher, yeah, absolutely. Dennis, great player. They were both out here recently. Have I ever checked out Richie Castanello and the Band Geek channel? I haven't. I haven't checked that one out, so I'll have to look up those guys. What was I gonna say? I was gonna mention someone as well musically, and it totally slipped my mind. Oh yeah. All right. So there's a guy that died a couple of years back. He would have been my age now if he was still alive. But Sean Costello, look him up on YouTube. Don't look up him on Spotify. Look him up on YouTube first and listen to this guy. Wow, he was an incredibly talented guy, and he's another reason I kind of. He was one of the other guys, as well as Chris Kane, that kind of got me going again. Like going, oh man, I love guitar. I'm listening to something very different. I think you need that from time to time. You keep listening to the same stuff. Not only do you feel stale, but you don't really start to soak in anything new either. All right, guys. Well, rock on. Tuning in late. Can we see your pedal board? All right, I'll show you that. So here it is. This is what I was just playing through before. So most of the same stuff I've had for a while. Tuner. I'm looking at my screen over here. Tuner. Royal Flush. Carrera Overdrive. This thing friggin' rocks. The Vibler from VS Audio, which is that sort of, what do you call it? Like a vibratone kind of sound. And the Tilly delay. But I'll tell you what, I've got a couple of others I want to add on this new board. This is one of them. I want to add that on, which I haven't demoed yet. This is a digital delay, but it's got a darker repeat. So it kind of sounds like an analog delay, but it's really nice. So that's going to go on the new board. I think I'm going to add one of the Dan Electro pedals on as well. And I might actually put my compressor pedal on there for a bit of a spin. And if it weighs too much, I'll rip it off. But we'll see how we go. All right, last question. This is a good one. What's the most disappointing piece of gear you ever bought? Have a guess. See who can guess what that is. I'll just wait a moment. I'm about 15 seconds ahead. So yeah, this will be the last question here. Out of all the stuff that I have owned, I'm pretty sure most people will guess this. If you've been a subscriber for a while, if you haven't, then who knows? But anyway, all right. So the Fender Mustang GT200 was the biggest disappointment in stuff that I've purchased. I was really disappointed, being a huge fan of the previous series. They may have gotten better over time, but at that point of release, just horrible. So yeah. Alright guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. We've got 102 people here. Or if you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Couldn't care less. But if you do want to thumbs it up, I appreciate that. And yeah, I'm going to get moving today. I've got a few things to do. And I will catch everybody soon. So I have a couple more videos coming up over the next few days. I got the new Guitar Search Saturday. I put a lot of time and effort into making that series better, I hope. So there's new things in there that weren't in there before. The format's kind of the same, but I think it'll be more entertaining, I hope, as well as clear and less seasick. Some of them you're like, oh, I can't watch this, it's in my head. This one should look fine. So like I said, I've got 3 filmed and ready to go. So yeah, rock on guys, and I will catch you all soon. Yeah, there's plenty of good Aussie pedal makers. I've covered quite a number of them. Check out Anarchy Audio, Dasatronics, and they're the only 2 I can think of off the top of my head, but there's definitely plenty out there. All right, guys, rock on. Take it easy, and I will catch you soon. Thanks for hanging out.